Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the National Parents Union presents Speak Your Truth with yours truly, Vivett Dukes. It is November 9th, Monday, November 9th, 2020. Very excited to be here with you all tonight. Very excited about my guest tonight. My guest tonight is someone who I feel really is going to be able to give us that inside scoop, that like really the nuts and bolts, the behind the scenes action, that water cooler scoop about election 2020 that we all want to know about. We've been watching what the mainstream media has to say, but there's nothing like hearing what goes on behind the scenes, the things that are not being reported, and also to just really hear firsthand accounts. And our guest tonight, Maritza Guridy, is someone who can give us that account because she has not only been a co-leader and spearheader of the National Parents Union's campaign for Every Family Votes, which she will talk to us at length about tonight, but also she's a community leader and a leader in terms of civic engagement because she was a poll worker in Philadelphia, the city that effectively um, garnered Joe Biden, President elect, Mr. President elect Joe Biden. Wait, let me get it right. Mr. President elect Joseph Robinette Biden. Get it right. Got him and Madam Vice President elect Kamala Harris. They got them those electoral votes that they needed to meet and exceed the 270 so that they are now the future of the United States. So, with all of that being said, please join me in welcoming our guest tonight, my colleague, my friend, Maritza, my sister, mi hermana. Ooh, the Spanish is flowing. Maritza Guridy. Come on, Maritza.
It sounded real good, mi hermana. I loved it.
Hermana, I've been watching my novelas. I've been
Yes.
practicing mi español. Is looking very good, mommy. I'm trying.
Ay, eso me encanta muchísimo.
You know, I love you because you are a Latina who recognizes her African roots. And that's one of the things that's always attracted me to you. Side note, but something that I definitely respect about you. Having a best friend who is Puerto Rican and her sharing with me just like you, like, no, I know my roots. We are a combination of indigenous and European and African and all sides. There's no one supersedes the other. And you
Absolutely.
also feed me that same knowledge. And I just love that about you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me on your program.
You're welcome.
Uh, those of you that do not know me, my name is Maritza Guridy. I am the Pennsylvania delegate for the National Parents Union. I am also a council member, as well as on the committee, the National Parents Union Every Family Votes Committee. I was also a census champion in the city of Philadelphia, so I really did talk about that tremendously. And I had a very once in a lifetime experience last week in being a ballot counter in the city of Philadelphia.
So, okay, I have obvious questions for you, but I want to do some back work first. So, you've just rattled off a really solid list of civic engagement. Maritza, where did you go? She'll be back. But one of the things I wanted to talk to her about, and if you have comments, I see some comments in the chat, please drop them in the chat. Hey, oh, Mecca, her daughter is here. Mecca in the chat. Hey. Oh, that's okay.
So what were you going to ask me? I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. I know you hit the wrong thing, right?
I know you were like
Going through the chat. Your daughter Mecca's blowing up the chat right now.
yes. Oh, is she okay? Because
And
I can't see the chat, but that's
and
okay.
you're inspiring people saying, I want to be a ballot counter. That's what Naomi in New York is saying. Hey,
Yeah.
Anjali. Hi. Dr. Anjali, let me get it right.
Hola, Anjali.
Hola. You have people in awe. Okay, literally, these are the chats coming in. I'm in awe because our viewers really want to hear about your experience. Forget what I was going to ask you because I was going to do
Okay.
the whole, let me do the background, but let's just get.
You can. This your show. You run it. Whatever you want to ask away.
We're cutting to the chase because as I'm looking at the chat, I'm seeing people eager and hungry to hear about your experience
Mm-hmm.
as not only as a poll worker, but as a poll worker in Philadelphia, as a poll worker in the city of Philadelphia during the 2020 presidential election.
Yes. Well, my journey started on Wednesday. Initially, where they had me go, it was on Delaware Avenue, one of the locations, and there was just some miscommunication when I was there. I mean, I went, I worked, and when I was done, I went home. Several months ago, messages were sent across the city of Philadelphia from the city of Philadelphia offering the opportunity to become ballot counters. And when they saw that they weren't able to hire enough, um, they went to an outside source. So it was a temporary agency. And other organizations also spread that information. So I happened to get a text from someone 2 weeks prior. And they were like, Maritza, if you or anybody's interested in this opportunity for some part-time work or work period, they just have to click on this link and then fill out this information and call this number, which is what I did. And they asked me a few generic questions about, data entry experience, how old I am, to make sure I was legal enough to work, of legal age to work. And they said, okay, your assignment's going to start on the day, on election day and the day after. And I said, okay. So after Wednesday, I started. But when I went to the convention center, oh, look at Mecca. When I went to the convention center, I walked into, on the outside would look like a block party. I mean, a huge block party. I mean, Philadelphia is known for having tremendous, amazing, huge street festivals all year long. And it's crazy because during this time of COVID, all of those things were stopped. Nothing happened in the city of Philadelphia for what we're famous for, between the parades and the festivals across the city, all spring and summer long. And to walk into Center City, Philadelphia, to 12th and Arch, right across the street from Reading Terminal, and see all these people either carrying Biden Harris signs or Trump signs. And then the music was incredible because in one moment you standing on one side and you hear R&B, house music, hip hop, and on the other side you may hear some kind of country western music. Not saying anything against country western music, but it was definitely being played by the Trump supporters. And I'm like, what is this? And I didn't personally see the arguing. I didn't personally see the name calling or anything like that. I saw a huge police presence by the Philadelphia Police Department. I went in. I had to first show my identification. I had to answer COVID questions regarding my health, and they gave me a temporary pass. I had to go through a metal detector. And they did ask people beforehand when you filled out the application that you had to agree, not to take pictures and post them on social media, not to record anything. No one in there was allowed to record or take pictures of anything, whether you were an observer or a person working inside. So that was something that had to happen. It was this huge, the convention center was a huge hall space. You saw the ballot machines, you saw the big bins with all of the ballots. And the machine does most of the work, but what you had to make sure is what we had to manually do was put the ballots in order by ward and division, then in alphabetical order. And as this is happening, and I did post after the fact that I was so happy as I was doing this work in putting things in order, getting it ready to go into the ballot machine to be counted. People from the same address, family members from the same address, multiple people from the same home address. That was telling me these are families. Families are voting. Families are voting. And I was like, yes. And I'm
Yes.
there like, families are actually voting. Groups of people from the same households are voting, are making their choice known. And I saw every single area that I'm familiar with. I saw, ballots from Mount Airy, Germantown, North Philly, South Philly, Southwest Philly, Nicetown, Tioga, Alany. My previous jobs have forced me to learn zip codes. So I was looking at zip codes upper Northeast, lower Northeast, every West Philly, every single area in the city that I'm familiar with, that I've either driven past, walked through, or worked in. I saw those zip codes being represented.
Wow.
So I know that people were voting. That was, that was the one of the days that I had to be there. The following day was a matter of us once again putting those same envelopes, now empty, in order again by ward, by division, by last name. Because if people remember, the back part of that ballot envelope was a declaration that had to be signed by a person, name, address, and their signature, and printed, declaring that this is them, that they were the person that made this vote. And if there was a bottom part with another signature, that means that there was someone authorized to turn that in your name. And again, we had to make sure that these things, for those that do not know, they don't get shredded, they don't get tossed in the street. It gets archived so that in the event of a recount, they can see how many people actually did vote and what their vote was. So once again, it was tedious,
Mm-hmm.
but it also again helped us to make sure that there were no errors. Because that night when I was doing that, I can say I looked at over, oh my God, 1,500 envelopes.
In one night?
Yeah, because I'm fast. Look, I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
but of all of those, I caught about 6 ballot envelopes where the ballots were still inside and it was not counted. So I got up. I was like, wait a minute. I put my stuff down,
That's
ran
right.
over to the other side. This one didn't get counted. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then and I'm quite sure if I caught it, other people as they were working were catching the same thing and running up because the machine may not have captured that and sliced it open and took it out.
Right.
That may not have happened. So any errors were caught. The counting, the sorting were triple, double, quadruple checked
Yep.
before they went into the ballot machine and after, just to make sure we did not miss a vote. And as they darkened the windows around the big hall of that convention center that we were in. I did see flashing lights. Um, Only when I was on a break that I happened to look at my phone to see some kind of news footage
Mm-hmm.
live from channel 10 NBC 10 here in Philadelphia, where it was Aaron Baskerville. He was live and he was actually on top of the news van, and you see people partying. I'm like, I want to party because they don't let you even play music.
Really?
Nope. Yeah, it wasn't until Friday night that one of the security guards actually put out a big old wireless speaker and was playing music that I was like, come on. But me, being me, I had my little tiny headphones in my ears. I had to play my music. If not, I would have just fallen down out of boredom
That
because it
can't
was very tedious work. And one thing I can say, they fed us.
good.
Did they feed Vivett? Listen. Across the street is Reading Terminal Market. If you've never been to Reading Terminal Market, it's very famous for having multiple different types of food.
Mhm.
Different. So one night one of the owners of a particular area in Reading Terminal Market, they brought in cheesesteaks, freshly made cheesesteaks. The other day, pizza. The next day, somebody brought in Chinese food. The next day, fresh fruit, which I appreciated. They fed us. No one went hungry at all. Oh, the last night I was there was a soul food place in there, and they had amazing mac and cheese. I'll be going back for that. But there was never a need. They even assisted us in making sure that anybody that drove in and had to park, because parking in the city is very expensive, they
Mhm.
even gave us a parking pass to pay for parking. So everything was done in order to make us feel at ease. The security was amazing. I will say, yes, foodies. The last the last night that I worked, although they did tell us on Friday you can work Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I was just exhausted because I was working my day job.
Yeah.
I said after 3 nights of working 16-hour shifts, I was okay.
Yeah.
I was okay. I mean, I said depending on how I feel, I may go Monday, but no, I was still tired today. It was just, but for the time and the sleepless nights and the being exhausted, I think it was worth it. I think we affected change. The city, that's not only Philadelphia, but Atlanta Chicago, Arizona, all of those cities. Well, I'll have a military six soon because y'all came through. Ooh, yes, Naomi.
Live. The comments are flowing
I'm so
tonight.
happy they are. I
People
mean,
are happy.
this, and then on Thursday evening
Mm-hmm.
was that was the evening when the news broke out that there was a Hummer with some people from Virginia with loaded weapons
Mm-hmm.
that said that their goal was to go into the convention center and create chaos.
Yes.
We had no idea because remember, we didn't have access to that. We weren't allowed to be sitting there looking at our phones, looking at anything. So when that came out, I was I saw that on Thursday evening as I was walking from the convention center to the parking lot,
Mm-hmm.
that the police presence was a lot larger. There was actually a squad of bike police officers that came past me. I literally walked past them. They were coming past me to my right as I was going to the parking garage, and I was like, "Wow, that's a lot of bike cops." I said,
Leaving after your shift. So you're inside, just to set the stage, you're inside, you're counting ballots, sorting ballots. You have no idea that harm is awaiting you potentially on the other side
"No
of,
idea."
because you don't know, you don't have the TVs on, you're not influenced, you don't even have your phone, you don't know what is going on.
Exactly.
Secluded and sequestered. For those who
Yes.
never been inside of your board of elections and you don't know like how that process works, you really have to commit yourselves to being removed from society from that time so that you can be unbiased and uninfluenced in your
Yes.
counting, in your serving, in your
Yes.
everything. So
Yes.
I know from my end, when I heard what was on the news, like up until that point, of course, like most Americans, I was glued to my TV, glued to my phone. And of course, Maritza, you were giving us, check-ins as a part of the NPU family. Maritza has her own show as well. She's very active in NPU. So we're getting this one-on-one, like I felt so much more invested because now I'm like, okay, I know someone in here now. Like I have someone like in the trenches. It's different than hearing about it on the news when you know someone who's there. Then when I heard about the harm, impending harm, I got very emotional because now it's like, okay, I don't want anything to happen to my girl. And
Yeah, my son let me know when after I got home. My eldest son Richard texted me and he's like, "Mom, are you home?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm home. I'm home already." He was like, Did you hear anything on the news?" I was like, "No, what are you talking about?" And he texted me the footage. Wow. And I was like, "Oh my God, I had no idea." None. He was like, "Mom, I'm glad you're home." I said, "Me too. Believe me too." But I had no idea. I mean, the most I did, when I had a minute, I made sure to text. That's how you guys knew what was going on. But I didn't like go on social media to be looking at the news and all that because one, I knew that was frowned upon. And two, I didn't want to create any type of worry on my end. Because I know me, if I didn't feel safe, I would not have gone there. I would not have stayed there. I wouldn't have stayed there. I would have been like, "All right, I'm out."
Right.
You're not obligated.
So how did you feel afterwards knowing like what could have been? Because what I saw was people ready to storm that building. It was very volatile. It's a very tense situation just watching it. In New York, it didn't get a whole lot of coverage, but in the national coverage, that definitely was something that was spoken about. So you didn't know at the time, but what was it like once you came home and Richard calls you and like, "Mommy, what are you all good? Are you good? Now what? What are your feelings?"
I was, well, I can't say it now because I don't know what kind of show you have. But I was like, "Oh shit," that's it. That's how I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe that there are people out there that are that angry, that upset, that blinded by ignorance, that they would choose to drive for hours in a vehicle with loaded weapons to cause harm to other human beings. That is the level, unfortunately, that is the level of hate
Yes.
that so many of us have had to experience. And I'm so glad that there were more people there outside that would have that would have done what they had to do aside from the police. The Philadelphia Police Department worked on a tip, and I think that they did an excellent job in finding whoever that tipster was. I don't know if he was with them,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm glad that person said, you know what, this is wrong. They had a conscious moment and said, you know what, I'm going to report this because I don't want something terrible to happen to innocent people.
Right.
And because of that tip, the Philadelphia Police Department was able to step in. They immediately identified the vehicle, very distinctive vehicle. They weren't the brightest people in the world. I mean, I have to say that. And I will. I mean, having those bumper stickers showing that you're associated with a bunch of anarchists,
Yes.
and then something so visual as a Hummer,
They come.
there was no way that they could have been, and any, they weren't discreet. They weren't trying to be discreet. They wanted to make noise and be known. So they found them.
Right. Maritza, how did you get this really keen sense of civic engagement? Because in the short time I've known you, you really like the things that you've gravitated towards in terms of the initiatives and campaigns that the National Parents Union runs. The things I know about you are you're always very civically minded. So you and Tafshir and the Kulia and other members of the committee have really just taken every family votes and just run with it. We sit in weekly meetings for those of you who don't know, and we report weekly, like, okay, if you're a member of this committee, what your committee is doing, blah 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 blah. And every week it was just like, oh, we have gear, we have swag. Oh, every family votes has we have a QR code. Oh, we have our logo. We have this. And I'm like, you've taken this from an organization's committee and really turned it into every family votes.
Yes.
So, two questions. How did you get that civic engagement in you? So, some background. And then, how did that feel knowing your leadership role in every family votes and then actually tallying the ballots of families that voted? That's,
Yes.
like,
Well, I guess my beginnings in civic engagement, I guess, were the fact that my family immigrated from the Dominican Republic. My mother was the first person in our family to become a United States citizen. And once that occurred, she helped bring all her sisters and their families. And then they went ahead to do the work to become citizens themselves. But my mother, from the moment she became a U.S. citizen, she made sure to vote in every election. People ask, why is it that a person chooses Democratic or Republican Party? And I think that my mother chose the Democratic Party because it's synonymous with democracy for her.
mm,
So she said, I'm going to be a Democrat. And that's what she's been. That's what my sister and I have been. Um, my sons, I know one of my sons is independent. My son Richard absolutely is independent. Um, my son Elijah, I still to this day do not know what he decided upon. And my nephew Marquise, I don't know what he decided upon because his work keeps him very busy. But because of that, I made sure that as soon as I turned 18, I voted for not every presidential election. I voted for the mayor
yeah,
of Philadelphia. I made the votes for the district attorney. I voted for council people. I voted for the state rep. Every 6 months, if people don't know, every 6 months there's some kind of election going on where you live, whether you know it or not. Every 6 months, the mid years, every 6 months you have an opportunity to exercise your right to vote and make a choice. And every 6 months, you have the ability to affect change where you live, not just during the presidential election, because that's every 4 years.
right,
And one thing we also have to be careful of now, and it's been said, a lot of people don't like to admit it, that man that is still on Pennsylvania Avenue can try to come back in 4 years and run again
Mhm.
because you have the right to be a president for
Huh.
2 terms. So Vice President elect Biden and I'm sorry, Vice President elect Kamala Harris and Presidential elect Joe Biden, they're in, but there is a big legal fight going on because he's not happy with the results.
Yes.
And we have to make sure that we keep working hard, speaking out, organizing, getting our what we want together to make our demands known because this is not over. We
So
could, people were dancing in Philly and I was like, hey, they dancing. But once everything's said and done, we need to make sure that all that energy that was put
yeah.
towards dancing and fighting for every vote to count, we have to now continue to vote, continue to hold people accountable.
Mm-hmm.
That has to happen. This is right now is red hot fire. It's what's going on. We have to keep that fire burning within all of us and say, yes, I need to now make sure that I become part of my child's school.
Yeah.
Be on that school committee, be on that PTA, be on that parents council. My block, I gotta find out who my block captain is, who my ward leader is. Can I run for committee person where I live?
Yeah.
Can I run for city council? Can I run for state rep? Can I run for mayor?
That's I've gotten really involved in my local political sector. I've run for school board, um, not school board, library board, actually. I try to, and one of the things I can say to people, think about what really matters to you. What is it that's concerning to you? Because you can't be involved in everything. But
Yes.
if you're really like interested and passionate about, say, the environment, then go your local town, your legislator, they have a board, they have a council, they have a committee, they have a task force that is geared about the environment in your neighborhood, and you get to have a voice. They always need civic engagement. They need like the voices of local residents.
Yes.
You constantly have these meetings and town boards where the big wigs are there, the people planning to do things in your neighborhood, they're there and they're represented. But where are we? This is, if we have not learned anything else from this election cycle, we truly have learned that our one vote can change things. We saw it where a candidate was on top, and then as votes got counted,
Yes.
votes Maritza, when others were counting, then the tables turned. And there were times it was like this,
Yes.
neck, maybe just a little more. So, and it was the one vote that tipped, and really the win was like this. It wasn't a landslide.
Yes.
Lest we forget, it was not a landslide. It was very much like this. So I say all that to say, when Maritza's talking to us about ways that we can continue to be civically engaged beyond this point, there are things like your library board. That's huge. The
Wow.
books, the services, things that the library offers internet service. The library offers a lot of things. You want to get involved with that. What about your school board?
Absolutely.
Get involved with the school board. You have a direct say in the teachers that are being hired, the salaries they will get, the curriculum that's in your school. These are major factors that you have a part to play in. I am actually going to run. I get the votes tomorrow. Actually, I haven't said this publicly yet, but for my deputy district council. So I want to be the deputy leader for my district. I'm in Council District 4 in my county, so that I
Nice.
can have more of a say and be able to help
That's how it starts.
live. Like, just my mother used to always say, just take care of the part of the vineyard where you are. If you're taking care of the part of the vineyard where you are, if we all were to do that, things would just grow and change so much.
Yes.
You can still work in the balance. Tell us some other things we can do, Maritza. What? Because people, I think, sometimes are like, what can I do? Right now, we still have Georgia, right? So we have the presidency, and the vice presidency has been secured for the most part. We still have some lawsuits, as you said, out there being filed by the current president. However, we'll have to see how that goes. There doesn't seem to be much basis.
Yeah,
Okay.
the House is done. We have the Democratic Party has the House.
Yes.
Now it's the Senate.
Now,
Those Senate seats that are in contention right now, they're tied.
yes,
And
Georgia.
that's what, yeah, that's where we really need to show our support. I mean, the voting process is done, but
Yes.
the fact that voices need to be heard to make sure that everything is done in a safe manner and that things aren't lost or
And
miscounted.
you can call. So even after, so I did campaigning for local candidates. You can always do that. Find out what local candidates are up. You can make phone calls for them, stuff from your home. And we've gotten
Yes.
creative in this time of COVID-19 and the coronavirus global
Yes.
pandemic. So
Yeah.
we really had to grow and shift the ways in which we reach each other. You can make phone calls for candidates. You can I wrote postcards for candidates and mail them out. There's so much you can do
You
on.
can send text messages, you can send
Yes,
emails, you can go into your entire Facebook, Instagram, follower friend list, and DM and inbox everybody to let them know, hey, this is an important cause. I
mhm,
need your support.
yep.
You know me,
Well,
you know what I'm down with. If we agree, let's go. Let's go for this together.
let's
That's how it is.
Yep, it's grassroots. Right now, when we talk about the Senate, we're looking at Georgia still needs help. It doesn't matter if you're not in Georgia, if you don't reside in Georgia, that's fine. You can live anywhere in the United States and still make do campaigning on behalf of politicians in Georgia for whom you believe should have those seats. And I'm not here to sway you either way. I think it's clear what my position is. However, whatever your position is, Maritza and I are here talking to you about civic engagement and
Yeah.
making this process of democracy, that word that led her mother coming here from the Dominican Republic, my parents coming here from Jamaica, West Indies, to say, I want to be part of this democracy, this
Yes.
process, because we're coming from places where it doesn't work like that.
You're right. And even if and I said this, even if you know of a person that did not vote this time around,
Hmm.
don't shame them.
No.
Tell them, hey, you didn't do it for whatever your reasons were. Maybe after the fact you said that person might be saying, damn, I wish I would have done it. Well, say, hey, let's make sure that the next time for the mid years
Hmm.
that you're ready. Let's make sure you're registered.
Hmm.
Let's make sure you do your homework so you can understand who's on this ballot. So that then you could just make the choice you want to make and then say, okay, I did it. I'm done. Because I'm quite sure there are a lot of people that didn't vote for anybody.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I should have done it. So just be ready next go around.
Yep.
Look and see when the mid-years are coming up, the mayoral races are coming up, the judges, the commissioners, the post office, whatever elections. I mean, even for your school, if pretty soon, and I mean, until get things better with COVID, there will come a time when the hope is that all of our children will go back to school full time.
Yeah.
And if that happens, why not start those conversations now with your school leaders?
Mhm.
Reach out as a parent, as a group of parents. If you have not already done so, reach out to your school leader and say, can we have a conversation? Can we have a Zoom talk and
Yeah.
talk about what's going on? I mean, I have to commend my school leader because she talks to the parents.
Good.
I mean, I have to say I'm biased, but that's fine. My school leader, the city of Philadelphia, had a choice. Parents had a choice of sending their child that's either pre-K through second grade to either 100% virtual or hybrid beginning the end of this month, health permitting, safety permitting.
Okay.
They had that opportunity. My school leader, she made a choice. She said, I'm going to have weekly calls with our parents.
Okay.
And she's been doing it. She's been keeping us abreast of what's going on. She's been letting us know what the timeline has been, whether or not it's been pushed. Um, she's gonna let us know what's gonna happen with regards to how many families actually made a choice to come in the building and how many families chose to keep their children home. And based on that decision is going to determine whether or not the amount of teachers will be in the school building.
So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about elections and being engaged in what's going on in your life, in your children's lives, in the lives of your fellow community members. Something like being able, civic engagement allows you the opportunity or affords you the opportunity to really get to know things. Like you know, what
Go,
you're talking about.
go, go. She's so nosy. Go over there. Lilo, Lilo.
Like, I want to vote. I want to get
She
involved.
she she just wants to get some attention. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay. That's fine. This is live. This is live, y'all. This is how it.
Yes.
But what it does, what I found that it has done for me is really making me so confident when I do go to speak at the school, when I do go to speak at a local event. It's like, because I know what's going on. Maritza, you can talk about ballot counting and what happened in Philly election 2020. You know why? Because you volunteered to be there. Because you were there. And it's like, I think the more of us that get involved, not I think, I know, the more of us that get involved, we're going to see things shift. Think what was happening was we were too complacent. We weren't really exacting our rights. And this year, when we did, do we see what we were able to accomplish?
Absolutely.
Do we see Stacey Abrams, who registered 800,000?
Yes.
800,000. Sit with that number.
Yes.
My gracious me.
Yeah, she did what she had to do, regardless of how it turned out for her. She knew that something had to be done.
Yeah.
And for us, we said
Mhm.
it. We actually said it last week.
Mhm.
Regardless of who wins, we are still going to fight for our families. We're still going to fight for education. We're still going to fight for quality education. We're still going to let parents know there's a parents' bill of rights.
Yes.
We had a town hall last week. I
Yes.
was listening in during the town hall. I was listening in during that. So I'm steady counting, and I had it in my ears, and I was like,
Yes.
doing air high fives and getting excited, listening to everyone speaking and looking at, looking at the comments really quick. But we have to be involved. If there are people out there that are still not sure about what to do with regards to the voting process, you can go on the National Parents Union website and click on the tab for Every Family Votes. And I want to I have to really shout out the ladies, other ladies that I work with Marisol, with Wendy, with Colleen, with Tafshir, with Kulia. I love you ladies. If I miss anybody, blame my head, not my heart, because I'm tired. um, but everybody in the National Parents Union, we have all put forth our best effort to make sure that everyone gets the information that's needed, whether it is regarding education advocacy, voting, policy changes, mental health, our self-care, our well-being. Because if we're not okay, we can't make others okay.
Right.
Your program has helped a lot of people. Your speakyourtruth.org, your organization helping the families, make sure that they understand that even if they have a loved one that is incarcerated right now, there are still supports, that when they become a returning citizen, there are
Yes.
still supports for them, that they also need to just check their state guidelines. And I'm quite sure I saw your post when your husband voted, and I was like, yes,
Yes.
and I'm, and that I
And
can't
let me
even
tell
imagine
you, they tried to deter him when he voted.
wow.
Real talk. Voter suppression is real. Human error is real. You have to be so aware when you're walking in to vote, because there is suppression and then I don't know, there's human error. So he actually, he's a third. And so there was some discrepancy between him and his father. And if we
Oh,
didn't look clearly at the date, like the date of birth, the other thing, first, you have to know they're not allowed to ask you for identification.
exactly.
They cannot ask you for ID. At least in the state of New York, I don't know if other states have different rules. They can't. The signature is what matches, correct? And so, if it wasn't for noticing the wrong date of birth, there could have been an error made there. And so,
Wow.
you know, but this is someone who, like, he waited in line for hours to be able to vote excitedly. And so for our returning citizens, it is important that an MPU offers information to help you get grounded, to know
Yes.
now I'm back. And part of you being back and part of you fighting against a system that oppressed you, that incarcerated you, that tried to really obliterate you and held you down is by voting.
That's
Your
right.
vote is your voice. It's not just a slogan. We've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Went hard before the election. The show before, I was like, these are every number you could call, blah, blah, blah. I'm still going hard, and our Every Family Votes campaign is still going hard. Can't stop, won't stop.
Absolutely. We got to keep it. This is not a one, a one shot, a one deal thing. We have to keep
No.
it going. We're going to keep it going. People are going to hear us talking about it constantly. When things get better and we're out and I'm out in the community more and I have my table and I have my information out there, everybody that walks by, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we're about. All those families that are our friends and people in our networks that are following us, spread the word. This hasn't finished. This is not over. We had our first town hall last week. We're going to have our next one December 3rd. Please register for it. There are going to be a lot more panelists, a lot more amazing guests. Hey, this is going to continue. It has to continue. The only way we're going to be able to affect change is as a union of people that are desiring to make things better for all of our children, for all of our families as a whole. We have to make sure this continues, and we need everyone's support in this process.
Mm-hmm. Naomi makes such a great point here. If our votes didn't mean something, there would not be so much energy spent trying to stop us from doing so. And
Eso.
key point, I know when my husband was still inside, he was really adamant about me voting. And I can say that I was, on the fence the last time around. I didn't really feel like, I don't know who I'm voting for. My vote's deeply personal. I don't know. I was of that mindset. And he was like, nah, you gotta vote for me because I can't.
That's right.
You're out and you're free and you can vote and you're not. And there are brothers and sisters on the inside who we want to vote. We're having conversations and discussions in here about who we would choose and why we would, but we can't execute our right. We don't even have that right. And for many, please check the state. That's why you have to know the state
Exactly.
rules, because that's the thing with the United States. There are federal laws, but then each state has its own. Just like we saw, they open a time, they close a time for polling, they have this date for that. They're very specific statewide rules. But one of the things that Speak Your Truth and the National Parents Union supports us with is really re-enfranchising. For those that have been disenfranchised, re-engaging yourself now, knowing the rules. First of all, registering to vote. Get registered to vote. If you didn't register and you missed out, you can now. We can't look back. That happened already. That's done. That's dead.
Just move forward.
Just move forward.
Yeah.
So register now. You can still register now. Okay? You can still register now. Don't stop. Register. Get to register to vote.
That's right.
Because once you're registered, then it's like you don't have to think about it anymore. You're good. You're registered. You're good. And vote. I can't say it enough for this. I know so many that can't vote, that want to vote, and so many that voted for the first time.
Yes.
That voted for the first time. So just this Every Family Votes campaign is still going on. I'm pushing it hardcore. We're pushing it hardcore. It works. We've seen it. It works.
Absolutely. It absolutely does work. I mean, and if this is just the tip of the iceberg with regards to the support that we need to give each other, because when we support each other, all of us collectively will hold those that we put in power accountable. Because they said, go from the top. No, it starts from the bottom. It starts from the ground, the grassroots, the people on the ground. The more we become involved, the more we support each other as a group, as a coalition, as a union of people, we're going to be putting pressure not only on our local elected officials, they will then go ahead, and that pressure is going to keep on rising up all the way to the top. I want to see what their plan is for education.
Yeah.
I want to see what their safety plan is for this pandemic.
Yeah.
I was glad to hear presidential elect
Biden.
Biden's plan for COVID. I want to see who he's going to pick for the Secretary of Education of this country. I'm very curious to
Yes.
see.
I am also. I'm really hoping that his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, would be our U.S. Secretary of Education as an educator.
Can she be as his wife?
She can, because from my understanding, and people out there, let me know if I'm wrong. From my understanding, there's nothing precluding a first lady from holding a position in the cabinet if her husband or spouse is the president. I think of Eleanor Roosevelt. She was very involved. She was running the country pretty much for a while. Once her husband was stricken with polio, right? And then I believe Hillary Clinton also held was a cabinet member in Bill Clinton's cabinet. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You making me rack my brain now. We gotta research that.
Well, Angelisa, it happened on Scandal. Not that that's but if we can take the out of that book, yeah, I'm hoping so, because she would just be an actual educator as the
and that's what it has to be. Yeah. An actual educator, a person that has experience educating people, a person that has experience leading a school community, a person that's been a former superintendent, someone that has the experience, not just your friend.
Yep.
It can't, and even for local elections, it can't be your friend. If your friend is not doing their job, vote their ass out. And I'm serious about that. I've seen it. I've seen too many people, here and also where I came up and to say, friends of mine, they're hiring their friends, they're hiring their family members. I mean, nepotism is crazy. Stop hiring your friends and your family members if they're not qualified. Give the jobs to those people that know how to do the job.
That's right. That's right. And when you're in and you know what's going on, it just catches a fire.
Yes.
Getting more involved in knowing what's going on. Like for me locally, there's a huge landfill that's a really big environmental issue going on that, although it affects me, I really did not know too much about it. But because of getting more involved with the election on a local level, local, state, and national level, I learned more about what is going on in my neighborhood so that I can say, all right, I would like to get involved in this way, or I didn't know this was going on, or what are the plans, and how can I be that change that I want to see? I think we all can do our part in some way, shape, or form, whatever that is. Everyone can't be out there marching. Everyone has their lane. That's what I'm saying. You don't just find your lane and stay in your lane. That's all. There's no, we don't have to, we're not all Maritzas. We're not all going to be there counting bells. Okay, that's okay.
That's right. And get to know who your local officials are and realize that they are also human. They are also people. They may also be, families, have children, have similar situations as many of us have had. You never know unless you talk to that person. Don't put them up on a pedestal and think, because they are a state rep, or because they are the mayor, or because they are the council person, that they are above me. No, they put their pants on the same way you do every morning.
Right.
So if you have an opportunity to meet someone, introduce yourself. Say, hey, I live in your district. I live in your ward. I haven't seen you in my neighborhood.
Yes.
Can we have a conversation? They have office hours. You can sit down and have a meeting with them. They just elected a new state rep from my district. Okay. I'm going to introduce myself to her.
Yeah.
She was newly elected. I'm going to introduce myself to her and get to know her and ask her, what are your thoughts on education? What are your thoughts on voting? And what are your thoughts on improving the instances of crime in our community? What are your thoughts? What are you going to do? How can I, as a citizen, as a person that's one of your constituents, how can I help you? And it doesn't have to be like you said about being out there. You could be stuffing envelopes and still be helping a cause.
Yeah, and you're making a great distinction between elected officials and politicians. There's
Yes.
a difference.
Yes.
There's
Yes,
a
they
difference.
are.
They are elected officials. Their role is to serve. Their role is to be advocates, and you are their constituents. We are
Yes.
their constituents, and they are there to represent our collective best interests, not their personal, professional, political best interests. That's the difference. And by holding them accountable, by being in their face, and it doesn't have to be in a contentious way,
No.
really doesn't. And we're about building relationships. I'm a member of an organization in my neighborhood, building bridges. And I just love even the name, the visual, the imagery that it conjures up for me. We need to build bridges, and I heard our presidential elect use that same language, and it just resonated with me. Like, yeah, let's build bridges. So I'm not here to hang, 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 hang. Maybe that might
Right.
be necessary, but not off the bat. Off
Yeah,
the bat, I'm like, hi, I'm Vivett Dukes. I'd like to
that's
meet
right.
you. I live in so
Right.
and so. I'm a member of your district. What are your plans? I'd love to hear your plans for
Exactly.
whatever is important to me. What are your plans for education? What's going on with COVID? What vote?
Yeah. Those conversations need to be had.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
absolutely need to be had. Don't be afraid to have them. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out to me. Don't be afraid to reach out to Vivett. I mean, you want to reach me, Maritza at npunion.org. I'll be happy to respond to you. If you have a show out, you want to come on my show and talk to me,
What
let's
show?
do
Wait,
it.
tell us about your show.
My show is on Wednesdays at 4 p.m., sponsored by the National Parents Union. It's called Looped In with Maritza. Now, the name, when I was given the opportunity to have a platform, I wrestled with what the name would be.
Mm.
And I was talking to my husband's childhood friend, and Mikhail, and he was like, "Well, what's going on?" And I said, "Well, I have the opportunity to do this show." And he's like, "Maritza, what I know about you is that you're always in the mix. It may have been in the mix with Maritza, but I was like, eh." But being looped in for me has always meant being involved, being in the know, because I've always hated to be the last person to know important things. So I always had to know what's going on in my children's school. Always had to know. I always put that foot forward and introduce myself in person or via email or via text to their teachers. And that is how I guess I became more vocal
Mm-hmm.
because of the jobs that I've had in the past. I was able to be at the school. Not everybody can do that. Depending on a parent's job, they may work 2 jobs, they may work 3 jobs, they may work a second shift job that doesn't allow them to be at the back to school night, the report
Right.
card night,
That's
the
right.
talent show, the
Mhm.
sporting events. Not every parent has that opportunity. So I did have that opportunity to be there. And that is when I was approached. And that is how I became more of a parent advocate. I was already an advocate because I had been advocating for my mother from the time I could translate,
Hmm.
in a understandable manner, as being young. But I became so much more of an advocate, and I've always made sure that I can speak for those. And I would tell those parents, if you can't come to the meeting, let me know what you need for them to know, and I'll say it for you. Tell me, what is your concern? And I'll bring it to the school leader. What's your concern? I'll bring your concern as a parent at the school board meeting when they give us that 3 minutes. Those 3 minutes,
Mm-hmm. A lot happens in those
a
three.
lot of things can happen in 3 minutes. You can shake up a room in 3 minutes.
Oh yeah, 3 minutes is a long time. Try to give
It's a
her.
very long time. And one of the last times I was part of my school board meeting here, I had my 3 minutes, and it wasn't just in English, it was also in Spanish. And they were like, oh, because they need to represent both languages. So I made sure that what I felt was understood and heard in English and in Spanish. It doesn't, you can be in the background. There are many people that can speak for you, speak with you, and support you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I really want everyone to understand. We are here to support you. We are here to have your back. We are here to help you, develop that rap that you need to protect yourself and protect your babies.
Yes.
We are here to help you with that. That is what it's for. We've asked parents from across the country very important questions, and we've posted those poll results for
Yes.
a reason so that you can see that your concern is not just your concern, it's our collective concern across this country, including Puerto Rico, with regards to our need for educational justice, equity. And as parents, we have the right to make demands. Do not let anyone let you feel that because you may not have the educational degrees that they have, that they are better than you. Hell no. You are a parent. That is the best degree you can have. You are a caregiver. That is the best degree you can have. All that other stuff, all those titles is extra. Because I'd rather have a parent with me that says, Maritza, I only went to school up to the high school. I only went to school up to 8th grade. But you know what?
Mhm.
That person is at every meeting. They are passionate and they want to make sure that their children receive better. My mom busted her butt to make sure that me and my sister received better.
That's right.
So anyone with that kind of focus and dedication, I got your back. I'm with you, side by side. We gonna do it.
That's it.
I
Wow.
could talk for days. You know that, right? You know.
Do you see how you're speaking to people? I need you to see this comment. How
Oh, hi
encouraging.
Naomi. Where's Naomi from?
She's in New York. She's from South Carolina.
But she's in New York.
She's in New York. She was on the show last week, so you could check her out. She's on the show.
Okay,
Huge parent advocate for her,
wonderful.
big in the foster parent adoption
Oh,
world. Like you see, you guys are connected
oh,
here.
absolutely. I'm a resource mom too.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Oh, she said she's bringing you to her next IEP meeting.
I'd love to go. I'd love to go. I think I mentioned to you earlier, Vivett, that I had, because of the role that I have at the school that I'm working in, I appreciated those professionals that said to me, Maritza, I'm gonna make sure that this parent gets these forms in English and in Spanish because I want them to understand. And I made sure that they read it and understood it before they even signed it.
Yeah.
I said, look, this is in Spanish as well. You take your copy in Spanish. This is where they need one. If you agree to what you're reading, sign this. I'll give you a copy of this page so you can have your proof of what you agreed to and know your information for your child. That is absolutely needed. I mean, we have a little one here that we're fostering. She has an IEP, and they're about to reassess and reevaluate because we want to make sure she gets the best she can have. She deserves it. We need to make sure that no child falls behind or slips through the cracks when there are services that by law should be given to them to help them with their education. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Anissa, for being here with us tonight. Thank you for for you modeling what it looks like to be just a regular citizen, just
Yeah.
regular person, just finding time, making time to do those things that are of importance to you, and just you really have inspired me so much. I cannot tell you how much it meant to watch the news and to know I know someone in there. I felt comforted knowing, you know what? Nothing wrong is going down inside of that establishment because I know a person in there and she's top notch. And I felt that comfort for who you've exemplified yourself to be from the time I met you in January until now.
Yeah.
And so I just thank you so much because you help know that you are a part of history, my dear. You have not just you weren't you have played a major role in history. And when I teach my students about election 2020, your name will always be involved in each
Oh,
and every
you
letter.
want to make me cry?
That's that. We're talking about rewriting history, folks. This is how we do it.
That's
We
right.
take these stories, real stories, the untold stories. It doesn't need to come out 30 years later. Teach our stories now. It's her story, not his story.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Naomi says she's gonna tell her son That's right. And we pay it forward. That is our way.
That's
Oral
it.
tradition, we pass it on and we tell our children and our children's children and our children's children's children. And for generations, then they'll say, oh, but my great 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 grandma knew a lady who was at. You see, that's how it goes. That's
Yeah.
really how it
Yeah, it is. It is. And I just have to say that if it wasn't for the support of my family, if it wasn't for the support of my husband and my daughter and my sister and my sons, if it wasn't for their support and understanding that I have to do this to make it better, not just for them, but for everybody, I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to stay up, at this time of night, on this call, having this conversation. I wouldn't be able to go out on the weekends doing what I need to do. I wouldn't be able to go and have my show in the afternoons if I didn't have my family's support.
Wow.
So, but for those that don't have that and still just want to do it, be a part anyway. You don't have to be a parent to be a part of the National Parents Union. You could be one of our allies.
Absolutely.
You could just be somebody that says, you know what? I may not have any children in my house. My children may even be grown and outside my house, but I still feel that all children deserve that chance to have quality education wherever they live. And I live in the hood.
Oh,
Okay? If you know Philly, I live in the hood. My car has been broken into twice. I live in the hood for real. But there are many people that are from the hood that believe in the power of looking out for each other, of being there for each other, of making sure their babies are educated, and making sure our elderly are taken care of. And everyone went to those polls in my neighborhood. We
yeah,
saw it. I saw it.
absolutely. Wow.
Just doing it.
Just,
Just do it.
yep,
Just be a part.
yep.
And we'll all be making history, continue to make history, so that all our families can think back on us. When I'm dead and gone, they're gonna see I was part of the census count. They're gonna look at all of those
Right.
voting historical records. They're gonna see all of our names,
That's right.
all of our names.
Yeah.
Yeah, check your car, make sure your car is locked. But
This is how we rewrite ourselves into history, how
yes,
we try to be removed from history. Listen, it's not 1619 anymore. It's 2020, and the proverbial chickens have come home to roost.
yes,
Okay?
we've had enough.
Okay.
We've
That's
had more than enough.
done and done.
That's
It's
right.
over now. It's been a long time coming, but in the words of Sam Cooke, a change is going to come, and a change is here. A change is now. The change is a line from my movie, The Great Debaters. The time for change is now, right now, always now.
That's right.
Yes.
Yay.
Maritza, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You are so welcome to all of our viewers. Thank you for the wonderful engagement in the comments. It's been so wonderful. I'm gonna go back and respond to you. Thank you everyone for being here. Shout out to first time viewer Daryl Linton, my colleague. Thank you for being here so much, Daryl. She put up a great comment. Appreciate
Oh.
Dr. Angeline, thank you for being here. Naomi, a wonderful parent advocate in her own right. Just appreciate the energy that y'all bring. Anyone who will watch this on the replay, we want you to know we thank you for being here. Join the National Parents Union, nationalparentsunion.org, town hall. The next one, we're doing this monthly, ladies and gents. So the next one is coming up Thursday, December 3rd. Look out for more information on that.
Yes.
Thursday, we will not be going this Wednesday, excuse me. There will be no shows from the National Parents Union to honor our veterans for Veterans Day. So just giving you a heads up because we know we have consistent viewers. So
Yes.
yeah, with that, just thank you all. It's a new day, it's a new dawn, and we're happy to be here with you and we're sharing this together. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Continue to know and speak your truth. Good night.